A very good evening to all of you. Welcome back once again, viewers. Pleasure to see you all. So, today's agenda is, the Parajumbles odd one out type questions. So, we'll be looking at, faster ways to crack such questions in today's class. And apart from that, we would also be discussing a couple of, do's and don'ts before, when cat is almost at your doorstep, a month away from now. So, I hope you all are doing fine. And yes, as I had promised you last week, that we'll be meeting again. So here we are with a new agenda, just like every week. So, okay, so if you haven't subscribed to our channel yet, then please do subscribe. You can also follow us on Instagram. Okay. So before I get into the questions, let me share a bit, pointers on odd one out questions, that what is the format, how do they look like, and what is the ideal approach to crack such questions. So let me use, so in parajumble odd one out questions, so guys, you'll be given five sentences, and if you read carefully all the five sentences, you will realize that out of the five, four sentences will form a coherent paragraph. Four sentences will form a coherent paragraph, just the way it happens in parajumble arranging the sequence type questions. So I'm pretty sure you all are aware of the two types of parajumble questions that you get to see in CAT examination. The first type is wherein you need to key in the sequence of the given five sentences, wherein you mentioned, right, 5 4 3 2 1, 2 1 3 4 5. So those type of questions. And the second is wherein you need to identify the odd one out, the sentence which cannot be a part of the sequence. Okay. Yes. Good evening, Durga Prasad. Good evening, Arpita. I hope you both are doing fine. Uh, I hope I'm audible, right? No audibility issues, correct? Can I get a quick reply on that? Okay. Okay. Thank you. So, as I was saying, okay. Thank you, Nida. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you, Arpita. Yes, Aniket. Good evening. Thank you. Okay. So, as I was saying, in parajumbles, the two types of questions that you come across, in the category of the first type is wherein you need to arrange the given sentences into a coherent paragraph. Okay, wherein you need to key in the sequence in the given box in your exam. On the other hand, the second type of parajumble that you get to see in CAT examination is the odd one out type of parajumbles. So in this, out of the given five sentences, okay, any four sentences, okay, will form a coherent paragraph, just the way it happens for the first type. Okay, what you do in the first case is exactly what you need to do in this case also. Okay, and once you have identified the four sentences that form a coherent paragraph, then there is one sentence that is not in sync with the other four, that is not in sync with the other four, and that is your answer, my friends. Okay, that is your answer. So, and this is your final answer that you need to spot. So this is what the ideal approach is for such questions. So let us take the first question for the day and understand how is it supposed to be approached. Yeah. So the first question for the day, and the first sentence says, okay, people who study children's language spend a lot of time watching how babies react to the speech they hear around them. People who study children's language spend a lot of time watching how babies react to the speech they hear around them. Okay. So, next sentence. They make films of adults and babies interacting and examine them very carefully to see whether the babies show any signs of understanding what the adults say. Then, third sentence says they believe that babies begin to react to language from the very moment they are born. And then we have sometimes the signs are very subtle, slight movements of the baby's eyes or the head or the hands. And the fifth sentence is you would never notice that never notice them if you were just sitting with the child, but by watching a recording over and over, you can spot them. Okay, so guys, first thing, after reading the five sentences, I want all of you to develop a basic idea of the given context. Okay, after reading the five sentences, I am pretty sure that you must have been able to identify or get a basic idea of the entire context that it is about, right? How babies react or respond, right, to language that they hear. This is the basic context, right? If I have to sum up all the five sentences, I would say that this is the basic, you know, context around which all the sentences revolve. Okay, but then having said that, remember, having said that, there is one sentence in the lot which is not in sync with the other four. Okay, it talks about a different idea. So let us understand. So first thing that you need to understand in this, people who study children's language, people who study children's language spend a lot of time watching how babies react to the speech they hear around them. So, guys, if I have to arrange this, form a coherent paragraph out of the given five sentences, I know, I know there are only four sentences, which will form a coherent paragraph, as I told you at the very beginning. And the sentence which will not be a part of this arrangement will be my answer. So, I'm looking for that. I'm looking for that fifth sentence, which is out of the context. So, the moment I read first sentence, after reading all the five sentences, I realize that first sentence, okay, statement one is the only sentence among the lot which appears to be a very good opening sentence for my paragraph, for my arrangement. So I am going to say that the arrangement starts with one, okay, which says people who study children's language spend a lot of time watching how babies react to the speech they hear around them. Correct? And if you notice carefully, other than the first sentence, all the other sentences they have cross reference. You understand my point? When I say cross reference, what does it mean? That these sentences cannot be the first sentence. I mean, they are referred to or discussed or described in some other sentence, which is nothing but the sentence one. So sentence one is an opening sentence. Okay. Now I want you to read sentence two carefully. Okay, I want you to read sentence two carefully. They make films of adults and babies interacting and examine them very carefully to see whether the babies show any signs of understanding what the adults say. You need to understand one thing: the pronoun used in this sentence, they, it refers to these people. It refers to these people mentioned in sentence 1. And now if you read together both the sentences, you'll realize that first sentence talks about, in general, about those people who study children's language. Okay. And then second sentence says that these people, they make films of adults and babies interacting in order to examine them carefully to see whether babies, they show or use any sign language in order to understand what the adults say. So my arrangement is, now sentence 2 will follow sentence 1 immediately. Okay. Then they believe that babies begin to react to language from the very moment they are born. Guys, keep an eye on this thing. From the very moment they are born. Okay. Now, observe carefully. Okay. It says that babies begin to react to language from the moment they are born, but it does not relate with the first two sentences that we have entered in the arrangement. We have used it in our arrangement, right? Because see, it's a very general statement. It says that it is the time from which the babies begin to react. Okay. It nowhere talks about how they react, what is their sign language, or in what manner they respond to the language or the speech they hear around them. So this is very general statement. We'll keep this on hold. It is not a part of this arrangement as of now. Okay. Let's move ahead. Sometimes the signs are very subtle. Oh, very nice. So at the moment you read this, you should be able to recall that sentence 2 actually talked about signs, that whether the babies show any signs of understanding what the adults say. So in sentence 2, the word whether indicates speculation. So, guys, in sentence 2, the people who study children's language, they make films of adults and babies interacting in order to examine whether the babies show any signs of understanding or not. Right? So, is it not a speculation? It is, right? Speculation ka matlab hi wahi hota hai. It is a speculation, correct? It is a speculation that maybe, you know, babies use or sign language, okay, to understand what the adults say, or maybe they show some sign that so that the other person comes to know that okay, the baby is able to understand what the adults around them are saying, correct? And now if you notice carefully, sentence 4, if you notice carefully, sentence 4 will follow sentence 2 immediately. Why? Because it describes the sign, it describes the signs. Okay, it describes the signs. So that is why fourth is my third sentence in the arrangement. So 1 to 4 is now arranged in a coherent manner. And then if you read 5, you will realize that third sentence 3 is your sentence 3 is your odd one out. If you read the fifth sentence, you will realize. And then see, fifth says you would never notice them as in babies. Okay, you would never notice them if you were just sitting with the child, but by watching a recording over and over, you can spot them. Okay, so now you see, and this them doesn't indicate babies. I mean, I said babies, but it's not just babies. It's signs. It is signs shown by the babies. Okay, so you get to know that when you read it further. You would never notice them if you read just up to this point. You might think it is babies. No, it is about signs shown by the babies. Correct. So to sum up my entire discussion, I would say first sentence talks about the people who study children's language. This is the main idea of the discussion. In the second sentence, it talks about these people, that how do they understand or how do they examine the signs shown by the babies, and how do they do that? By making films of adults and babies interaction. Correct. And then and then sometimes, right, sometimes, so in this case the speculation that was made by the author in the second sentence has been described here. So sentence 3 talks about the signs shown by the babies. And what does the author say? That these signs are very subtle. What is the meaning of the word subtle? Subtle means not very not very clear. Okay, no, it's sort of an underlying sign. So you need to have an eye for detail. We say that, right? And sometimes that you need to have an eye for detail, right? So it means the science might not be very explicit. It might not be very explicit or very direct, but it is very subtle, very underlying, very indirect, very implicit. You need to understand. So, and what are those signs? Maybe the baby might, show you slight movements, okay, movements of the eyes or the head or the hands, okay. And then in the last sentence, the author says that you would never notice these signs them I told you, right? You would never notice these signs if you are just sitting with the child. So the author says if you sit with the child, you will never notice them. But you will be able to notice them if you record their videos, if you record while they're interacting with someone, and then you watch the recording over and over. And if you do so, you will be able to spot these signs, using them. So the final answer, the odd one out in this case, is sentence 3. So our final answer is sentence 3. So I hope this question is clear to everyone. No doubts in this. Is this clear to everyone? Right? So so I hope this question is clear to everyone. Am I audible, students? No doubts in this case. Is this clear to everyone? Okay, so guys, are you able to see question 2? I have changed the slide. Is question 2 visible to everyone? Can you all see the second slide? Okay, perfect, perfect. Okay. So Nida, I hope there is no lag that you guys are experiencing. So I was audible throughout the first question, right, Nida? You were able to hear me throughout? You heard the entire discussion, right? Can you let me know, Nida? A quick reply on that? No lag, sir. Okay, perfect, Nida. Okay, thank you. Okay, guys. So second question, as as you can see it on the slide, the second question. Now you know the art. I am pretty sure you must have understood that what is supposed to be done in an odd one out question. Same thing as I told you. There will be the four. Out of these 5 sentences, you will be able to arrange 4 sentences into a coherent paragraph, and the left out, or the left, the isolated sentence which is not in sync with the other 4, is my answer. So this is my final answer. So let's start. Okay. Neuroscientists have just begun neuroscientists have just begun studying exercise's impact within brain cells on the genes themselves. Okay. So I'm pretty sure you all are aware of who neuroscientists are, right? So this passage talks about neuroscientists and what they have just begun studying. So they have begun studying the impact of exercise, okay, within brain cells on the genes themselves, okay. So it is pretty evident. So if you just read the, look at the, a faster way to do this is that, if you just look at the first 4 or 5 words of the sentence, it turns out that even there in today's technology driven, it's only in the past few years you realize that in the first sentence itself is my starting sentence in the given context. The first sentence itself is my starting sentence in the given context. So, and why is it my first sentence, guys? Why is it my first sentence? Because it talks about neuroscientists. And I have told you, right? This is the logic that we use even in para jumbles. Neuroscientist is the noun over here, right? Is the noun, name of the people, right? Neuroscientists, S plural. So we are talking about all the neuroscientists in this case as an entire family, right? So noun. So that is why my first sentence is one. Okay, it is very clear. And what are they doing? So they have just begun studying exercises impact within brain cells on the genes themselves. Okay, next next when we move ahead, we realize, okay, in the second sentence, even there in the roots of our biology, okay, they have found signs of the body's influence on the mind. They have found signs of the body's influence on the mind. And who are they? They have found signs. So this sentence also indicates neuroscientists, correct? So my immediately following sentence in this case would be two, correct? So two follows one, right? Two follows one. Why? Because one talks about the neuroscientists starting with the study or observation. They try to study or observe the impact of exercises on the brain cells. And two, if you notice carefully, sentence two, it reports the findings of these study. Sentence two reports the findings, correct? See, they have found means the, so after doing the carrying out this study, in which they studied the impact of exercise on the brain cells, they found. So that is why sentence 2 reports the findings. And what did they find? What did they find? They have found signs of the body's influence on the mind. Okay. So the neuroscientists noticed that a healthy body results in a healthy mind. So you must have heard of that phrase, right? A healthy body results in a healthy mind. And vice versa is also true, guys, by the way. Okay, let's not deviate from the topic, otherwise we'll sound very philosophical. Okay, a healthy mind results in a healthy body, that's also true, but it's vice versa as well. Okay, so this context talks about the importance of exercise. Okay, that exercise that you have, that has, exercise that you have on your minds, okay, on your brain cells. So sentence 2, yeah, 1 and 2 is arranged. Let's move ahead. 1 and 2 is arranged. Okay, third sentence. It turns out it turns out that moving our muscles produces proteins that travel through the bloodstream and into the brain, where they play pivotal roles in the mechanisms of our highest thought processes of our highest thought processes. So guys, if you read carefully, in the sentence 3, would you agree with me if I say it describes the science of body's influence? Am I correct? It describes the science of body's influence on the mind. Can I get a quick reply on that? Yes or no, boys and girls? Yes or no? So I can, on that note, I can say that third is the sentence which immediately follows second sentence two. Yes or no, guys? Tell me. Can I get a quick reply on this, everyone? So what I was saying is that sentence one, yeah, okay. Thank you, Ayushi. Thank you, Arpita. Thank you, Sona. So my point is that sentence one talks about neuroscientists, okay, and it also introduces that neuroscientists have started a study or an observation, okay, or an experiment wherein they try to understand whether exercise has an impact on brain cells or not. Correct. Then sentence 2, what did we realize in sentence 2? That after carrying out the study, they came up with some findings. Okay, they were able to conclude something. Observe the so they report. So sentence 2 reports the findings. Okay, which is which is obtained through the study carried out in sentence 1. And then if you read sentence 3, you realize that it further elaborates sentence 2. So in sentence 2, the author just says that they have found signs of the body's influence on the mind. Sentence 3 further describes the signs of body's influence on the mind. Okay. And and when we move to sentence 4, okay, it talks about in today's technology driven plasma screened in the world, it's easy to forget that we are born movers, animals. In fact, because we have engineered movement right out of our lives. Guys, this is my odd one out. Absolutely my wrong sentence. It is nowhere in sync with the discussion that is happening. Why am I saying my fourth is my answer? Why? It is nowhere in sync with the first three sentences that we read. Yes or no, everyone? Yes or no? Tell me. It conveys a different idea altogether, right? It nowhere talks about the neuroscientists and the study that they carried out and its findings. Am I correct, students? Yes or no? Sentence 4 talks about altogether a different idea. Even if you read it, you will realize, I mean, it is nowhere related. It has nothing to do with the context that we are discussing, right? What is the context here, right? Context is neuroscientists, they carried out a study to understand whether exercises have an impact on brain cells or not. Then after carrying out the study, they found some signs that body has an influence on the mind. That means exercise does have an impact on the mind. And then sentence 3, they describe what are these signs is all about. Correct. And immediately when you read 4, you realize plasma screened in world, technology driven, all bullshit sentences, right? So it's nowhere related. It is nowhere related with the other three. You automatically realize, okay, this is going haywire. This is not in the context with the other three sentences. But I always say this, right? Without reading the fifth sentence, do not jump to any conclusion. I always say this, do not, without reading the last sentence or the fifth sentence, don't jump to the conclusion. See, 95% I'm saying that answer is 4. But still, just for the sake of preventing myself from getting into the negative marking zone, I would glance through the sentence 5, and then certainly tell myself, okay, my answer is 4 for sure. So let us read the fifth sentence once and then close this question. It's only in the past few years that neuroscientists have begun to describe these factors and how they work, and each new discovery adds awe inspiring depth to the picture. Okay, so guys, it is pretty clear. I'm sure that you all must have understood that sentence 5 is actually a good concluding sentence. It is concluding the discussion happening in sentence 1, 2, and 3. Do you agree with me? Sentence 5 is a good closing sentence. Okay, is a good closing sentence for the context created in sentence 1, 2, and 3. Do you agree with me on that? So our answer is 4. Hence, our answer is 4 in this case. Sentence 4 is the odd one out. Okay, so let's move to the next question. Let's Yes, Sona Jain, you are right. Yes, conclusion line. I understand. Perfect. So let's move to the third question, guys. Okay, third question. Okay, so let's read the third question. This is again okay, let's read. The water that made up ancient lakes and perhaps an ocean was lost. Okay, so it talks about water as a resource. Water as a resource, right? Okay, in the form of lakes and ocean. Am I correct? Is this clear? Is this clear, right? The moment you read sentence one, this is clear, right? It talks about water as a resource in the form of lakes and oceans, and it is a negative sentence. What does it say? That the water that made up or that constituted. When I say, see, that made up. This is a phrase, guys. Remember, okay? So it means constituted, constituted, okay? Constituted or formed. These are synonyms. So so see, if you remove, if you just replace the word made up with either constituted or formed, the sentence will still remain the same. Just let us do and see that, right? The water that constituted ancient lakes and perhaps an ocean was lost. See, the meaning has not changed. That is why it is a perfectly fitting synonym. Next, the water that formed ancient lakes and perhaps an ocean was lost. Again, this is also valid. So that made up means it talks about that ancient lakes and ocean, okay, जिसमें पहले पानी होता था, it is not there anymore. It is lost somewhere. Okay, this is what the first sentence talks about. Let's move ahead. Second sentence. So guys, to be honest with you, don't jump to any conclusion. The moment you read first sentence, we are we are you know clueless. We are clueless. We don't know. We have no idea. There is no context which is being created here. Okay. So let's move ahead. Maybe after reading the sentence to second or third, we will get a fair idea. Okay. So let's read. Let's read now. Particles from the sun, particles from the sun collided with molecules in the atmosphere. Guys, observe this. Huh? It says the particles from the sun collided. What is the meaning of the word collided? What is the meaning of the word collided? Collision, right? They come and dash into each other. Collided means collided means dashed into each other. So when accidents happen on the road, right? Two cars they collide. So what do you say? The two cars have bumped into each other or have dashed into each other. Both are same. Okay, so that is collided. Particles from the sun collided with molecules in the atmosphere, knocking them into space or giving them an electric charge that caused them to be swept away by the solar wind. By the solar wind. Okay. And then sentence 3 says most of the planet's remaining water. Okay. Most of the planet's remaining water is now frozen or buried, but clues over the past decade suggested that some liquid water, a presumed necessity for life, might survive in underground aquifers. In underground aquifers. Okay. Next sentence. Fourth sentence says data from NASA's Maven orbiter show data from NASA's Maven orbiter show that solar storms stripped away most of Mars' once thick atmosphere. Mars' once thick atmosphere. Okay. So, and the last sentence says a recent study reveals how Mars lost much of its early water, while another indicates that some liquid water remains. Some liquid water remains. So, guys, when we read sentence 3, most of the planet's remaining water, we did not know which planet is being talked about. Some of you must have definitely thought of Earth, our planet, but that's wrong. So after reading fourth and fifth sentence, we realize that the planet which is being talked about in this context is Mars. Can I get a quick reply on that? Yes or no, guys? Tell me. Is this correct? Yes or no? The planet which is being talked about in this case is Mars. Right, students? Do you agree with me? Okay. Perfect. So if you notice carefully, sentence 2 talks about talks about okay, it gives the reason why. See, knocking them into space or giving them an electric charge that caused to be swept away by the solar wind, right? And if you look at the other three sentences, you realize the swept knocking off something and sweeping away by the solar wind is being talked about in sentence 4. Yes or no, guys? Can I get a quick reply on that? Yes or no? Yes or no? Tell me. See, it's just a different way of representation. Just a different way of representation. If you read sentence 4, you realize that data from NASA's orbiters show that solar storms stripped away most of the Mars once thick atmosphere. Now I'll tell you something. Between sentence 1 and 2, if you have to choose, had it been a parajumble question, you would have chosen sentence 4 to be your starting sentence. Why? Because it mentions the name of the planet Mars. Am I correct? Yes or no? There's a logical approach to parajumbles, right? A sentence which has noun in it will always be the starting sentence. Yes or no? Correct. See, sentence 3 also talks about, it doesn't say Mars, it says planets. The planets remaining water, right? So sentence 4 is my starting sentence. And guys, if you notice carefully, sentence 4 just introduces the thing point that a data from NASA's orbiter show that solar storm stripped away most Mars once thick atmosphere. Now, after fourth, it is very evident that sentence 2 will be my next sentence. Why? Because in what manner or how did solar storms strip away Mars once thick atmosphere? Now, after fifth, it is very evident that sentence 2 will be my next sentence. Why? Because see, yes or no? Tell me, guys. Sentence 2 describes 4, right? It says that particles from the sun collided with molecules in the atmosphere, and that is why the solar storms or the solar wind stripped away most of the Mars thick atmosphere. Am I correct? So 4 and 2 are directly linked. Quick reply on that, right, students? Do you agree with me? Correct? Right? Okay. Thank you for your replies. Okay. So next, after this, don't you think so, guys? Sentence 5 should be my next sentence. Sentence 5 should be my next sentence. Why? Because it talks about the recent study. It talks about a very recent study. Okay. And what does it say? What does it say? It says that Mars has lost much of its early water. Okay. Much of its early water. Right. So sentence 5, it talks about the recent study on presence of water on Mars. Right. Absolutely clear. And then after sentence 5, if you read sentence 3, would you agree with me if I say that sentence 3 talks about the current status of water on Mars? Yes or no? Current status of water on Mars? Quick reply on that. Do you agree with me if I say so? Sentence 3 talks about the current status of water on Mars, right? And now, if you realize that we have already found our answer, and it is sentence 1, because in this case, I understand sentence 1 talks about the water, but it doesn't talk about the water on Mars. Rather, it talks about water as a resource. It talks about water as a resource for lakes and oceans. Okay, so it is altogether a different idea, and it is not in sync with the other four. Hence, it is my answer. Is this clear to everyone? Is this clear to everyone? Right? This question is clear to everyone? Okay, so let's move to the let's move to the next question. Let's move to the next question. Okay, so question number 4. Let's read it, and let's. This is our rough work basically. Correct. We will mark. We'll mention our final answer in the box over here, which is the odd one out. Okay. Okay. So the first sentence in question 4 says, although we are born, although we are born with the gift of language, although we are born with the gift of language, research shows that we are surprisingly unskilled. Oh my god. So this talks about a negative quality. Yes or no? Guys, yes or no? Tell me. It talks about a negative quality, right, students? Sentence 1 talks about the gift of language that we all have got. Okay. What is the meaning of the word? What is the meaning of this phrase, the gift of language, guys? The ability to communicate. The gift of language means, the author says in this case, the ability to communicate. I hope you're able to get that, right? It talks about the ability to communicate. So observe carefully, guys. Okay. Although we are born with the gift of language, author says that we are born with the ability of communication. Okay, we are born with the ability to speak or with the gift of language. But research shows, okay, but research shows that we are surprisingly unskilled when it comes to communicating with others. So it is a negative quality, as I told you before, right? It is a negative quality. Why? Because although we have an ability to communicate with others, but research shows that we are very bad at communicating with others. Guys, my question to you all is, don't you think so there should be a reason behind it? Yes or no? There has to be a reason behind it. Yes or no, guys? Tell me. So there has to be a reason behind it, right, students? When you read sentence 1, does it not come to your mind? Does it not appear to you? It does, right? It does appear to you that why research says that although we have ability to communicate, although we are born with it, why are we so bad at communicating with others? Right, students? So if you just scan through the sentences, you realize that sentence 5 gives you the reason why we are unskilled in one. Yes or no, guys? Tell me. See, the reason is that we listen poorly. We don't listen without realizing it, and we often fail to pay attention to the subtle meanings conveyed by facial expressions, body gestures, and the tone and cadence of our voice. Is this clear? So that means sentence 1 and 5 are directly linked with each other. Yes or no, guys? Yes or no? Makes sense? So if you just read the other three sentences, second, third, and fourth, you will realize sentence 2, 3, and 4 are not providing me the reasons. Sentence 2, 3, and 4, it doesn't provide me with the reason why the research shows that we are communicating with others. Right? Is this clear to everyone? Why 1 and 5 are directly linked? One introduces the idea that although we are born with the gift of language, We are unskilled when it comes to communicating with others. We are very, very bad at communicating with others, right? And then the very next thought that comes to my mind as a human is, why? Is there a reason? Yeah, there has to be a reason. Otherwise, why will a research show that we are bad at communicating with others? Then the moment you read sentence 5, you realize, so this is my reason. Okay, here the reason is given. So that is why 1 and 5 are immediately, directly linked with each other, and 5 follows 1. So 5 says the reason why we are bad at communicating with others is that we don't listen. We don't pay attention to the subtle meanings conveyed by facial expressions, body gestures, and the tone of the voice. Is that clear? Okay. Then let's read sentence 2, 3, and 4. Sentence 2 says we must carefully orchestrate our speech. So, guys, anybody, what is the meaning of the word orchestrate? Orchestrate means to fabricate. I'll tell you something in vocabulary. Orchestration of speech also means to lie to someone. Is this clear? Is this clear? Orchestrate our speech means to fabricate or to lie. Are you all aware of this? Have you heard? So this is not your orchestra, by the way, guys. Huh? Don't misconstrue or misunderstand it with the meaning of orchestra. This is not orchestra that you get to see in Garba and all, Navratri time. Okay. So this is orchestrating your speech. It means fabricating your speech. And guys, don't you think so? When you fabricate your speech, it means that you are not being yourself. It's not natural. Correct? Yes or no? Tell me. Okay. So next. So it says we must carefully orchestrate or fabricate our speech if we want to achieve our goals and bring our dreams to fruition. Okay. Next, we often choose our words without thought, oblivious of the emotional effects they can have on others. What is the meaning of oblivious? Oblivious means unaware. Oblivious means unaware. Okay. So what does this sentence say? The third sentence, it says that we often choose our words without thought, as in we don't think before speaking. Sentence 3 says that we don't think before speaking. Okay. And that is why we don't realize that what, and we are unaware of the fact that our words, if not chosen properly, can have bad emotional effects on others. Bad emotional effects on others. Okay. This is what sentence 3 says, right? And then sentence 4 says, we talk more than we need to, ignoring the effect we are having on those listening to us. And don't you think so, that guys, the sentence 4 actually justifies sentence 5? Yes or no? Quick reply on that. Sentence 5 says we listen poorly. That is why we are not good at communicating with others. And sentence 4, if you observe carefully, it says we talk more than we need to, and that is why we don't understand what effect it has on the people listening to us. So does it, sentence 4, does it not justify sentence 5, that we talk more than we need to? That means we don't listen. We don't listen we don't listen carefully. We listen poorly. Is that correct? Makes sense to everyone? Do you agree with me, boys and girls? Correct? So, and that is why sentence 4 will act as a concluding sentence, good concluding sentence, and 3 will come here because see, sentence 5 talks about we listen poorly, we don't pay attention to the subtle meanings conveyed by facial expressions, body gestures, and the tone of our voice. And then sentence 3 further elaborates sentence 5. Okay. Sentence 3 elaborates sentence 5. We often choose our words without thought, and we are unaware of the emotional effects that it can have on others. And then sentence 4 says that okay, so we talk more than what we need to, and that is we listen to others. So 4 is a very good concluding sentence, and hence my answer is sentence 2. Sentence 2 is the odd one out. And why sentence 2 is the odd one out, guys? Why sentence 2 is the odd one out? Look at sentence 2. It is nowhere in sync with the other 4 sentences. It talks it talks about fabricating of speech. it says that I plan before I talk. So this is altogether a different idea, guys, right? And it talks about if we want to achieve our goals and bring our dreams to fruition. So this is nowhere related to other four sentences. Yes or no, guys? Do you agree with me on this? Yes or no? Is this clear to everyone? Right, students? So my answer is sentence two in this case. Okay, so sentence two is the odd one out. So this is how you are supposed to, this is how you are supposed to, what do I say? Work work around the odd one out questions. And before we end our session, couple of pointers that I would want to give you that uh, see, we just have a month for cat. So you need to, if you really want to master these odd one out parajumbles type of questions, my advice or my suggestion to you all is that try to solve at least 10 to 15 odd one out parajumbles PJs questions daily. Very important. Apart from this, you should also try to solve at least 10 to 15 questions on arranging the sequence, arranging the sequence in parajumbles daily. I assume that you know what do I mean by arranging the sequence in parajumbles. Okay. And third, I also recommend you to solve at least 5 to 10 para summaries questions. Very important, guys. This will also help you to improve your reading, because para summaries, I am pretty sure you all are aware of that it has a paragraph in it, and based on that you need to select that option which captures the entire essence of the given paragraph in the best possible manner. So I recommend you to, I highly recommend you to solve at least 5 to 10 para summaries daily. Very important. And then solving 3 to 4 RCs, 3 to 4 RCs is must. And when I say must, it means it is non-negotiable. Non-negotiable. You cannot bargain on this. Sir, do karu kya? Sir, is it okay if I solve 1 RC, 2 RC? No, it is non-negotiable. Minimum 3 and maximum 4. Very important. Okay, 3 to 4 RC should be good enough for on a daily basis. So, guys, if you observe carefully, 10 to 15 of odd one out parajumbles, 10 to 15 arranging the sequence, 5 to 10 para summaries, and then 3 to 4 RCs on a daily basis is must. Okay, so this is a 1 month plan, that I recommend you to follow. This is what you need to do on a daily basis. Okay, how you manage your time, how do you fit this into your schedule? I leave that up to you at your discretion. You guys are grown-ups, so okay. So make sure this is a part of your daily schedule for the next 1 month, and mark my words, if you do this, you will be able to ace the verbal section in cat. You will be able to ace the verbal section in cat with flying colors. I hope you're aware of this phrase. You will be able to ace the verbal section in cat with flying colors. Okay. So Arpita Jain, to answer to your question, मैक्सिमम कितना टाइम लगना चाहिए एक पीजे सॉल्व करने के लिए? अर्पिता, so very good question. So my suggestion to all of you is that parajumble question, be it odd one out or arranging the sequence, it is, Arpita, 2 minutes max per question. 2 minutes per question. Is this clear, Arpita? Arpita, is this clear? 2 minutes per question for any parajumble question, be it odd one out or be it arranging the sequence. Not more than that. Okay. Ideally, odd one out should take lesser time, but it's okay. I'm giving you 2 minutes per question. That's the benchmark. Is that okay, Arpita? Okay. That's all for today. And I will see you on next Friday with a different agenda. So meanwhile, I have given you a 1 month plan. Kindly, incorporate this into your daily schedule and start working on it if you really wish to ace the verbal section in CAD with flying colors. Okay. Thank you guys. Until then, keep studying, stay safe. I'll see you in the next week. Bye guys. Take care.